Good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends. My name is Valeriia Vershynina, and today I will moderate this webinar. I represent Ukrainian NGO Democratic Initiatives Incubator. And I'm glad to welcome you on our meeting, specifics of organizing and conducting educational activities, taking into account the needs of forced migrants. This online meeting is part of a series of online meetings dedicated to the needs of discriminated groups, and the online meeting is organized by the NGO Democratic Initiatives Incubator Ukraine within the framework of the project Encouraging Diversity, which is implemented by the working group of INC Network, Citizenship Education in Work with Discriminated Groups, supported by the Federal Agency for Civil Education using funds appropriated by the Federal Foreign Office, Germany. Next, more than an hour we will spend together, so I would like to show you some visuals for our own common work. Sometimes people have some technical issues and problems. So first of all, try to restart the connection. If you use laptop, you can press F5 or try other way to reload the page. Also, you can try to change the internet source or in general device which you use. For example, switch to phone if you have to laptop. We have chat here via Zoom, so there you can put your questions, write your comments, and I, like moderator, would be happy to read them and collect them, and at the end of our meeting, ask our expert what you want, or maybe I will be able to react for some of them also during the meeting. And as I said, we now have online recording, but only this like common screen and face of person who was speaking currently will be recorded. So if you switch on your yeah, it's the most important things. Thank you so much. And I now would like to actually invite our speaker, Valeriia Vershynina. She is the Director of Legal Affairs of Charity Foundation Stabilization Support Service, and many years worked with forced migrants. So Valeriia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nazari. Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you that you allow your time to speak about education issues of the forced migrants. Today, we will speak about education needs of refugee and internally displaced persons. One moment, I will open my presentation. So we will start. Okay, so Nazari, do you see the screen? Thank you. So today we will speak about specific of organization of educational activities, and we will speak about background of the forced migrants and how its influence on the education needs. I will try to share with you my experience about organization of international educational activities for IDP and for the migrants like refugee, asylum seekers. We will speak about Ukrainian experience of educational events. But before we will start, I just ask you to, if you want, you can introduce yourself. Please put in the chat your name or how you want to be addressed. And I ask you to share your expectations from the webinar or your questions for the webinar. From the old time when we will speak, if you will have some question, please put it into the chat and I will try to answer. So please put your question into the chat. We will review it a little bit after. I won't start from short introduction. So actually forced migrants, one of the biggest group of the people who are suffered by the different conflicts. In May 2022, United Nations reported that there are more than 100 million of the people who are forcibly displaced. And some of these people are refugees, other is internally displaced persons. And actually, internally displaced persons is one of the majority of the people who are forcibly displaced. One of the biggest group from the forced displaced people, it's women's and children's. In the same time, young people face many challenges in their accesses for the education. And according to the statistic, less than 5% of the refugees accessing to the education. But it's not means that just youth need educational activities. Actually, all people who are forcibly displaced need social adaptation, integration support, and on these stages, they need some educational activities. And a little bit after, we will speak about this context. So if we will speak of Ukraine, after 2014, Ukraine faced with the problem of the internally displaced, and it was 1,400,000 people who are displaced after Russia Federation aggressions in 2014. But after that, Ukraine have like 9 years of the situation with the frozen conflict, when some of the people displaced from the occupied territory as they live on the grain zone, and there was some law developed to address their needs and educational needs too. Unfortunately, all these measures not expect so huge size of internally displacement and displacement abroad the country after full-scale Russia aggression in this year. So now Ukraine have more than 8 million of the people who become a forced migrant. And more than 4.5 million of these people is become internally displaced person. And even this statistic is not full because Ukraine have no access to the occupied territories. So unfortunately, we have no numbers about people displaced on occupied territory and people who was forced to deportation on the territory of Russian Federation. So actual number will be much higher. All this situation actually, unfortunately, faced Ukraine with situation when education right now happening like mostly in exile, because from the first months of the Ukrainian war and Russian military aggression was damaged near 700 educational institutions, 74 it was the schools, and actually this number just for the first month. Right now, we have a little bit higher number, but now Ukraine faced with other situation. After schools and kindergartens was shelling, Ukraine tried to switch into online education. You can think that online education is not a bad idea, but originally just people who have laptops can study on this way. And unfortunately, last month, Ukraine faced with Russia rocket shelling like electricity station. So right now, even online education, unfortunately, not work because without electricity, it's not just problem that Wi-Fi not work. We have situation where when a cell station work, so preschool education, primary and secondary level of education, and even higher education, unfortunately collapsed because neither online, neither offline form of education can't work properly. If we will speak about what we can do with this situation, how education can be organized, I want to tell you that all form, like formal and not formal education, should be used to address issues of education activities for the forced migrants. For people who have access to electricity and laptops, online event will be okay. For people who do not have this access, any safety form of offline activity work too. Many Ukrainian youth displaced from the country abroad directly for educational need and try to get access to the European universities, European educational program, because it gave possibility, it's open possibility to get access for the labor market too. And this is one of the stage of integration. You can't integrate into society without financial independence. So educational needs of forced migrant will be very different depending on the context of displacement, depending on the age of the people who displaced, depending on their profile. You can't design some educational activity just for all refugees or for all IDPs. You always should take into account the needs and context of their displacement. So to take into account context, firstly, we should understand what's the difference between internally displacement and between refugee status. Internally displacement, actually now on the screen, you see the full definition, but I won't highlight the most important things of it. So to be internally displaced person should displaced according to some risk for their health, for their life. So it can be a hazard situation or ecological problem or situation of the huge level of the crime. Any issue each bring a person in the situation when they should displace to a life. And in the same moment, person should stay on the territory of the country. So, like I told previously, like example, in Ukraine, we have more than 8 million people displaced, and 4,500,000 of them is internally displaced persons. So it's people who are moving because of war, but they stay on territory of Ukraine. So if persons stay on territory of their country, it means that most likely that this person will know how government institutions work, on which language people will speak, how actually things are happening in the country. And in some situation, if people displaced even on the territory of one country, they can lose access to some of their rights or to some of their social statements. Person can lose document, lost access for their property. So even if you displaced in your country, it's not means that you are on a safety. And unfortunately, on some stage, internally displaced person can face even with a more higher risk than refugee, because mostly they stay near the hazard area. So majority of the displaced people, it's a women and children. And more often refugee will face with situation of discrimination on their own country. More often they will faced with risk come into the slavery, in a risk being used for the war. And unfortunately, most likely IDPs lost access for some of the social payments, pension payments, and other issues. Each can be crossing for the place of registration of their residence. If we speak about refugee, it's the people who are cross border of their country to be in safety. You can see definition on the screen. It's very important to highlight that to apply for refugee status, persons should go abroad a country according to the risks for their lives. It can be crimes, it can be war, it can be ecological catastrophic situation, but it can't be economic reasons. So in some kind of situation, we can say that refugees have a little bit less level of the risk, but in the same time, they have high level of the risk to be putting in the slavery. They have much more educational need, because unfortunately, most of refugees do not know language of the country where they displace. They faced with new bureaucratic procedures, new social norms. in many situations, refugees just don't know about scope of their rights, about scope of possibility for them. Refugees usually have confirmed their educational qualification and pass additional tasks and exam. And you should understand that if you plan move abroad the country, if you want move for economic migration, traditionally you prepare for this. You try to study language, you prepare your documents, you know what to do. But when you're just moving from the war, you have no this time to be prepared. So you faced a fully new situation for you, and you should find, you know, like pieces by pieces, some information about what you should do to get some social benefits, what you should do to have access for the labor market. And mostly it will take much more time than in situation when you stay in your country. So both an IDP and refugee need support for the process of social adaptation, process of integration. But most likely, if you are IDP, a time each you need for your adaptation will be less. You will know language, you will know how to get access for the educational market and for labor market. You will familiar with some traditional or religion issues, but most likely not mean always. Still, there can be difference according to the context of the country, according of the context of the territory. It's most likely that profession which you need in one region, you will not need in other. So still, an IDPs and refugee need educational support to be integrated in the new social communities. And it's important not just for IDPs and not important just for the refugee, it's important and for community too, because community can think that IDPs or refugee is just more responsibility, more problem, and it means that the community will not try to get some benefits from these people. They will just think, oh, why we should pay for these people. And in reality, new IDPs, refugees, it's new member of community. It's not a problem. Actually, it's a solution, because new people on the labor market can support economic development, can support labor market, can pay taxes, and actually community can be benefited from the new members if these new members will be adapted. So educational event, adaptation and integration, it's like a road when you can move in the two ways. You can support forced migrants, you can support community, you can be benefited from both of the situation, or you can think about this just like about problem and have just more expenses on the community. So really, we believe that educational events, they really promote social cohesion in the community, strengthening and development, professional skills of the forced migrants, support economic rising for community, support financial independence, not just for the forced migrants, but and for community too, and actually strengthening of the leadership potential of IDP can support strengthening of the social protection for all vulnerable groups in the community. Because it's there are no situations that you will meet person who just IDP or just forced migrant and it all. People have other their features. It can be a person with disability, it can be elderly person, youth, it can be person with some huge experience or education level or knowledge. It can be shared for all community, for all representatives of group. It can be person with a leadership skills who can bring into community new experience and new vision. So what we can do for the forced migrants and actually for work, why we should want to do this. First of all, language seminars and courses for the people who need this because they don't know language or need to improve them. It can be summer school programs for the students, and even not just for the students. It can be a special educational scholarship. It can be grants and trainings and seminars. and it can be forum and conference and educational seminars, experience exchange meetings. It can be workshop for doing something together, and all of these events together and each of them separately can support different needs of the people, not just youth, but all forced migrants on community. Because yes, mostly we tell about supporting youth to continue their education, but not just youth want to continue. People of the third age can need continue their education too. Supporting of the building new social connection, important not just for youth, for all people in Gromada, creation of friendly and barrier-free education environment, and addressing the education needs of the social migrants. And all of this in the end actually empower forced migrants and benefit community. I want to ask if there's someone who want to share their experience, maybe on the forced migration and achievement, some activities, educational activities. Is there someone who want take a floor to share experience?
I know that Svetlana wrote me that she would like from Poland. Do you hear?
Svetlana?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you see me? Because I don't see myself, actually. I'm trying to join with video.
Yes.
One moment.
It works. It works.
All good.
Works, you hear and you see. Actually, yes, I have. I've got some experience in working with forced migrants here in Warsaw, and actually having own experience to be replaced, because from the beginning of the war we spent 3 months in western part of Ukraine with the family, and afterwards in summer there was a decision taken with the family that I should go here with my daughter. And here I joined the team of the club of Ukrainian women, which is the project of the Ukrainian house in Warsaw. And firstly, I was invited to deliver the training on emotional intelligence, and after it was the very first, and afterward I had already 6 or 7 trainings for women here in Warsaw, who are here. But the very first, I will tell about this experience a little bit later. But firstly, I'd like to share the very first impression from my participation in one educational activity for Ukrainian migrants. I took part in, it was in June, and it was organized like a training on project design, and we used during the training on project design, there were materials like conclusions after the conference for migrants, Ukrainian migrants, etc. I don't remember the name of that conference, but I know that organizers refers to the materials of that conference. And according to the results of working group of that conference, one of the biggest need, and I will say that I'm quite skeptic about this, that the biggest need is leadership. Like lack of leadership is a need that people, that migrants, women who participated in that conference mentioned like one of the need. I was quite skeptic about this because I really don't see here that I don't see here a lack of leadership from the side of Ukrainian women. They are everywhere. They take part in many projects, and they suggest a lot of ideas. They organize themselves in small initiatives. They provide some child care support, for example, organizing themselves. And when I asked about this leadership need, actually leadership as a need, what do they mean and for what? Leadership for what? I didn't get the answer on this. And you know, what I see here, that a lot of words, a lot of needs, not needs, like declared things like a need. A lot of things are declared, but it's not in fact real need of migrants. And yes, it is obviously that migrants need courses, language courses. They need some educational activity which could help them in the labor market. Educational activity kind of aimed at intercultural, I don't know how to say, sensitivity to feel what is different in this culture, not just to speak about similar things in Polish and in Ukrainian lifestyles. Yeah, how to say, but also to understand this difference and to consider them when they look for the job, when they try to integrate themselves. And actually, the second point I wanted, the first one is the question of leadership. It's kind of, you know, a lot of conversation about rising leadership on behalf of Ukrainian refugees, on behalf of Ukrainian migrants, but in fact, there are no like concrete direction where to lead, you know, where should it be directed, this leadership, if we speak about it. And also I haven't seen real needs assessment and haven't seen really I will try to explain that my feeling that, you know, that needs assessment that is provided through internet, for example, through social networks, they are not considered really in actual activity for migrants. Yes, like there are some needs assessment, and where are those conclusions, were those there's information about this needs assessment, about this real needs? I don't know how they, I don't know if those people who do needs assessment and those people who provide some service, they communicate with each other.
Thank you, Svetlana, and it's very important issue, and little bit further we will speak about needs assessment, like one of the stages in preparation of any event, because needs assessment should be part of preparation of any your activities. There are no any reason to do activities without study about your target audience and without study about needs assessment of your audience. Thank you, Svetlana. You want to add something less? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Exactly, and this is my point, that I see here lack of this actual need assessment. And I wanted also to share a little bit the experience of work with the Ukrainian house in Warsaw. There is a really good initiative for Ukrainian women, the Club for Ukrainian Women, and they organize from time to time meetings with some famous people, meetings dedicated to some topic like fashion, like job searching, some parental, like workshops, art. I know that there are some meetings on drawing, and my role was like a social psychologist and trainer to provide several workshops on emotional burnout, emotional intelligence, and the last one we did the workshop on social competences. And what I see here that again, lack of needs assessment. I never know if the people who subscribed, who registered on my workshop, if they really need, or for them it's just social activity to spend the time. And it's not, unfortunately, it's not really systematic, like sporadic activities, educational activities. They different trainers do something and it is not a system, but in fact it works. In fact, what is an advantage of this, that there are like various options. If you want to train, to be trained in some psychological issues, you can register on that topics. You can register it on other topics. And I never know how many people will be, in fact, will take part in training. I never know how many of them, which backgrounds do they have. But in fact, I'm sorry, I was not really ready to make a report, you know.
Okay, Svetlana, I think it would be great if we will back for this issue in a few. Now I will present a little bit of a board experience of events, and after that we will discuss preparation of the educational event. And I think that if you will be agree, we can discuss this issue, because you raise questions about actually stage of preparation and what we can do, like example, to get information about each cell, or how to make this process more comfortable for the trainer or coach or mentor of the events, because I think that it's very important issues from the operational stage. So if you agree, now we will pause a little bit these issues. I will back to the presentation. Actually, colleagues, did you see my screen right now? Thank you. So, and after that, we will back to Svetlana and to discuss the operational issues of the organization of events. So, any case, if we speak about addressing the educational needs, we will mostly discuss two forms of it: formal education and informal education. Formal education, it's educational activities and support which can be provided by the formal educational providers. It can be kindergarten, schools, university. Actually, in my presentation, I mostly will speak about university, and actually significant number of the world university implement different initiatives for the refugee and the migrants. And among them, right now, I will be present experience about supporting of Ukraine, but I want to highlight that all this university provide some programs and have some initiatives, not just for people who move from Ukraine. Many years, this university provides support for the different group of the refugee. So it's not just something new, it's happening right now according to situation of Ukraine. It's a system of the traditional support activities from the universities. So like example, in Germany, 4 universities open the different programs and different assistance for the new people who come from Ukraine. Ukraine students can get scholarship and can get possibility get free educational courses in the German university. Like example, Medicine University in Donetsk starts the Midwest program for Ukraine. Actually, it's possibility to get and education and actually get quickly support for the labor market. French government decided to support actually cultural activities, and their programs support like artists, painters, singer. So people who work in the culture, they can get not just access to the university, but they can get special grant to education. BRIDS program is actually in the Great Britain. They start project. It's gave possibility to the students not just get access to the university, but get free access to the library, get free access to the dormitory. So students, if they apply for the course and if they allow to start, they will have possibility actually not just get access to the educational services, but some support for their livelihood, because actually it's really important when you create your life in a new place. So actually, if we will summarize what form of support we have in the formal educational segment, mostly it's access for the university courses, access for the dormitory, library, possibility to have some intensive courses, so get educational process quickly, and some simplifies form of exams to get access for the education. If we speak about not formal education, actually this type of activities mostly provided by the NGO sector, by the different activists. And here I name just few examples of different educational activities. Like example, it's Refugee Week, it's happening in many countries, and like example in 2018 in the Great Britain for the Refugee Week, it was prepare special educational course. It was named You, Me, and Those Who Came Before. It was special education course for the children and youth. Each tells stories about refugee, show the process of the forced migrants, like in the way it will be understandable for the children and youth. And idea was to create understanding about processes of this process of the movement for the forced migrants, and make society more open for migrants, fight these stereotypes about forced migrants. Like example, other educational activities, it's like Migrant Carnival in Mexico in 2019. You can find many video from this, because actually this Migrants Caravan, it was educational course created by the short video with the stories of different migrants, and actually somehow it was tried to create source about needs assessment for the migrants, because people tell about their needs, people speak about context of their displacement, and show how different groups of the forced migrant, how different can be their needs. Because like I told previously, you can't tell that some forced migrants at some monogamy group, and you can once assess their needs and live many years with this knowledge. It's always different target groups with different needs. And if you want to support their needs, you should understand what specific needs of the group with which you can work. It's even not about educational activities like, oh, I want to organize event, like example, for the refugee women. And one thing what I know about them, that this is a women. No. What age of this group, where they live, what are their needs, what's feature specific for these women in these needs. So this is why needs assessment is really important. And this is why training and courses and educational activities can be important, not just for refugee or IDPs, but and for other people who live in this community. So experience exchange meeting. Experience exchange meeting is really important, and there are different types of experience exchange meeting, each traditionally used by NGO. It can be form of forum theater, where some different story of forced movements discuss, and different problem discuss, and shows like way how it can be fix, or how people can live with this. It's not about fixing something, actually. It's more about feelings and understanding how different situation can be moving. It's meeting like type of the living book, when some person with a story come and you can just ask these people, speak with person about their experience and get new knowledge about this experience through this discussion. It's events each name a cycle of support when people each have some same experience can have a meeting to discuss their problem, to discuss way to solving this problem, because for many people it's very important to understand that they're not alone, that their situation is not so unique and they can get support from other people with the same experience. And actually, experience exchange meetings is very important for the people who are actually want to renew process of their education or who work with the science, because it's way when they can discuss their experience, discuss their idea, and get some feedback on understandable form, get some feedback from the people who have like a fresh vision of the problem. So it can be really useful for the people. And here I just want to highlight that here I present most of activities each was implemented offline, but really many educational activities can be implemented online and can be really important and support people, because different online courses, educational video, different like Twitter, Facebook, other social media like info campaign, educational campaign can support people, and we will speak about this a little bit after. So I present some examples of what we can do, and now I want back for the issue which was raised by Svetlana, how we should do this. If we want to develop some concept of educational event for the first migrants, I think that most important issues it's who is the people for whom we want to do this, who is our target audience, what we know about them. I just want to raise one example. When in 2014, internally displacement of Ukraine happened, many communities start think about support for the internally displaced people, and many activities was planned through the perspective that internally displaced person need a work, any work. People will agree for anything just to have money for food. Unfortunately, like a result of this idea, there was other idea that many of people who displaced have no education at all. So few years, most projects to support labor market for IDPs address the issue to create special work jobs for the people without education who agree for like low-level qualified job places for the low level of the services. After that, when, like example, in Luhansk region, huge needs assessment study was happening. It was like full-scale profiling of IDP. It showed that more than 70% of the men and 92% of the women have one or two high-level education. Answering on the question about expectation from the labor market and expectation for the education, these people answer that they will not agree for any work each now reflect for their qualification and the skills, that these people expect for level of the salary which will be not less than their previous place on the Donetsk or Luhansk region. It's not important. So it means that few years governments spend money for nothing. Government create workplaces and tell that we spend this money to support IDP, but this money not support IDP actually. And maybe they support someone. Maybe it was important for someone, but not for IDP. So needs assessment is very important, because without determining who are our audience, for whom and how we want to work, it will not work. And here is very easy and in the same time very hard rule. Nothing for us without us. Nothing for IDP without IDP, nothing for refugee without refugee. If you want to create some educational activities for some target audience, find someone for your initiative group with whom you can do this, who are actually reflect this group. Gave them access for your planning initiative, and your activities will be benefit. Organize needs assessment. Try to know as much as possible about needs of your target group. Create your own goal for this group. Like example, if we speak about access for labor market, we can find out that language is important, but maybe some labor market can be open without it. So what our beneficiary group need? They need to study language right now, or they need to get professional. And actually one experience from Warsaw, each was shocked me much, because I think that it was really brilliant idea. One day I found out that, like example, in Warsaw, there was implement educational activity for women. It was a study course for 3 weeks. Each educate women how to work in engineer sphere, and it gave them possibility after this 3 week of education get access for the high qualified labor market. So they take just women with specific education, gave them these courses, support them to pass the exam and gave certificate, and it means that these women can start work with a much higher level of the salary than in case if they have not the certificate. So what it means? It means that after a very short period of time, people allowed to get their financial stability. It's example of the situation when NGO group in Warsaw just find out that in Warsaw there are many women who already have the engineer education in Ukraine. They already ready to work, so they just support them a little bit and gave support for this women. There was other, like example, success story from Warsaw when there was created a language study course. But what was important feature of this course? That they collaborate with a group who support children like kindergarten activity in the same time. So women have possibility come on the educational event, gave the children for special like kindergarten teacher, and she have some activities with the children when their mothers study language. I can't, like example, study language when I should sit with my child. I can't think about education when my daughter always tell me, "Mommy, please give me paper. Mommy, please give me pens. Mommy, read me something." But if my daughter in other room with other children and she happy, I can concentrate on education. So it's example when needs assessment firstly was organized. So organizers know about needs of the beneficiaries and provide them support in the most effective way. So you create your goal, you design your activities in the way each will help you to allow your goal. In first example, when I speak about engineer, goal was give women quick access to the labor market, and they find the shortest way to do this. In the second way, goal was support women in their social adaptation, gave them like basic language skill, gave the possibility to communicate in society. So different goals, different activities. So if you have this already goal, you already have needs assessment, you really should evaluate your own resources. I speak not just about money. I speak about human resources, about coaches whom you can involve, about actually representative from these vulnerable groups, each whom you can involve to discuss how better to organize this, about resources, like example, place, internet connection, laptops, what do you need to organize your event? If you want to organize forum theater in summer, you can do this just in a park. In winter, you will need special place with the tables, with the chairs, with the lights, some microphones. So you should think about all these features, what resources you have to realize your plan. And actually, when you already do this, when you evaluate your resources, when you gather your initiative group, you can actually make a proper planning and distribute tasks in your group. It's very important to distribute tasks because, like example, Svetlana present examples that she never know how many people will come, what is their needs. It means that in her group, like example, there was no person like responsible to make pre-registrations and questionnaire or speak with the people and provide her this information, or maybe they not discuss with the organizer possibility to do this. So Svetlana needs this information, but on the stage when realize event, have no this in their initiative group. So it's really important to get this. When you have all of this, actually one important stage after your activities will happening, it's evaluate results and make your own monitoring, like understand what was success, which mistakes was, what lessons learned you can get from this. Other issues, I want to highlight that on all the stages, it's very important to keep in mind that all our activities should always be in streamlines with do no harm rules. It's very important to analyze, did your activity, did your event will not damage your target audience or other people? Did you really think about conflict and gender sensitivity approach when you organize your event? Did you understand correctly context of the situation? And actually, one tool to work with this is create your own risk matrix. And one example of like not proper using of do no harm rules, I want to present few examples from Germany. So like example, my colleagues who are right now voluntary support people from Ukraine in general, they share with me experience when on one educational event, organizers invite translator who actually don't know Ukrainian language. So people face the situations that they will allow get, like example, Russian-Germany translation or do not get translation at all. And actually there are many myths that all Ukrainians know Russian language. Unfortunately, or for happiness, I don't know, but it's not true. Some of Ukrainians know Russian language, some know, don't know. And here organizers face with few like unhappy for them results. First of all, some of people who registered just go away because they don't know Russian language. And all like examples they know, but they suffering so much that they don't want to hear it, and it's true. But the problem is that after that conflict between Russia and Ukrainian speaker, like people on this organization, on this team, start be higher because people who was Ukrainian speakers start feeling that they was like segregate for these activity events. They faced with situations that activity events can get just people who are Russian speakers. So they feel discrimination, they feel that they faced with no respect. So what's happening? Educational events not happening at all. Gramada who organize it, community which organize it, faced with high level of the conflict. Why? Because they don't think about do no harm rules, because they don't think about conflict and gender sensitivity when they organize this event, and all this happens because they not involve representatives of their target audience in the planning process. Because in case if they will do this, they will hear like that not Ukrainians speak Russian. And it's not just about Ukrainian and Russian language. It can happening with any situation when you try to organize events. So it's very important to build your own matrix situation. Other situation when this conflict and gender sensitivity approach was not used in an educational event, in other Germany cities, there was created schedule of educational event, each segregate refugees for the type of their nationality. So there was educational activity for refugee and educational activity for refugee from Ukraine. It was two different schedule, and there was no any like language reason because all activities happening on English and on German language. But people feel that they're not one community, they not communicate, they are segregated. So people from one group actually start asking why our activity is segregated, why our event about, like example, workshop about national kitchens for Ukrainian different from the workshop from the national kitchens for the other group. So if you have no clear answer why this event should be segregated, why just this group of people need it, please not segregate people. Events should be planned according to the needs of the group, not based on their nationality. And yes, maybe in case of they prepare events for Ukrainian on Ukrainian language and write in the agenda that this event's happening on Ukrainian language, this event's happening on English language, it can be much easier to people to understand why they segregated on the national basis way. So when we're planning educational event, we're always planning organization part and actually content of the event. So from one side, we should think about, do we need some premises or consent? Like example, should we inform our city council about some event or no? Should we request like allow to get people in one place or no? Is there some safety or accessibility issues it should be accessed? And how we will engage community in this event, how we will support people from local community, people from refugee to get this event, or maybe we don't want to do this. Do we really want some extra support for our event, I don't know, from social media in our community? So all issues of organization always will be about legal sphere, so do we need access? No. About organization sphere, like example, is our place safety, how we engage people, whom we engage, and media, how we inform people about this, how we invite them, how we support them informationally on the process on event, and last issue, how we evaluate our event. It's organization side. Svetlana tells that she don't know enough information about her target audience. This one of the issue, it can be, it should be designed on organization sphere. Svetlana, can you switch on and share with us your expectation, what you need when you prepare, like example, your activities?
Actually, when I prepare my activity, I would prefer to have more influence on this preparatory stage. And in case when I'm invited as a trainer, sometimes I don't have any influence. I just can agree upon some topic just to check with organizers, to discuss some level of participants, or to check if they took part previously, for instance. And the problem here in that a lot of educational activity for women migrants are not really systematic. If we speak about projects, short-term projects like courses, 3 weeks, as you give an example, for women, it's okay. Yes, it's a project for one group, and this group is stable. The people take part in all the educational events, and I hope that organizers follow those success. They monitor somehow the process. In case when this when we have one type of events, when different trainers deliver every week, or in other period of time, then we can't influence, and it requires from trainer to be very flexible and to adjust, to be ready to adjust your program to different level of participants, to different expectations, and to adjust yourself to different learning ability, because in this case you can have very different participants in one group, and you should be prepared for this. And yes, I would prefer to have more influence on the stage to learn about their needs, about the number of participants. For example, 40 and 10, it's different group, very different, yeah. And in this case, it is not even the problem of the communication with organizers, but it is a systematic, like, underestimating of those who organize educational activities, importance of this kind of information. They just put a registration form, and that's, for them, it looks enough to get names, you know.
Yeah, they get names, but not needs. And exactly. It's really important. And not just needs, but like example, it's very important to know, if we speak about online event, will our participants will allow to actively be involved in activities? Do they connect from the, like example, mobile phone or laptop? Because, like example, some interactive form which you can use when you organize online event, you can realize if your group work from the laptops, but they will not allow to do the same from their cell phone. And like example, security needs, some participants, like example, not allowed to switch on their camera or not allowed to speak much, because they can be faced with the risks on their own countries. Like example, from Ukrainian perspective, from 2014, when we, like example, organize even online event, we always ask our participants, can we make video or no? Because for some people, even participation of some event can create risks for them or their family. So Svetlana, thank you that you share your own experience about this. And actually, I think
dear Valeriia, even would like to add that we have same issues with our online meetings, which we are doing now about, like, working with discriminated group, because I organize them also, not only the race. So I talk with some of participants, people who interested to participate, and they share their fears that in their countries it would be not safe when you declare that you work, for example, with LGBT community, or that you help Ukrainians in their country. It's actually why, for example, we provide two possibilities. First is like participate via Zoom, and other is just to watch via social platforms online and ask something there if it's possible.
Yeah. In 2015, when I start my activism and support of internally displaced person, it means that in the same time, I should agree and understand that I will never back home. My own city occupy, and my activities means that I can't switch contact line without risk for me and for my family. So I understand that easily, and actually sometimes educational needs of the people. It's not just about education. Sometimes it's really about protection for them or for their families, about some special risks. So when you develop your concept, you should really assess needs of your audience. You should assess situation, context, what they have, even think how you will analyze, and do you really plan to analyze information? Because actually what topic, Svetlana touched topics that organizer can collect data about participants, but not analyze and not share it. Or maybe can collect data about participants, but not enough of data. Like example, when we prepare this webinar, I asked Nazari, will there possibility to have some really interactive activity. Like example, can I ask participant write something on the white wall? Or can I ask, like example, participants switch on their camera and tell a few words of their expectation? And we agree that in this case, for this type of participants, it can be not a good idea. So we change concept and we think about a little bit other format. It will be more effective for our audience where not all people can share their faces or can share their expectation on traditional for us way. And actually this is why principle nothing for us without us so important, because sometimes organizers just don't understand these needs, and representative from the target audience will be voice of this community and will speak about problem each can happening. So when we think about concept of educational event, after we think what we want to do, how we want to involve our participants, after discussion with like speakers or coaches or mentors who will make this event, we should finalize agenda, including all features and all needs from all the stages. And after that, prepare materials for participants, think what we want to share with them, and thinking how they will use these materials. Like example, I have a very nice book, something like 300 or 400 pages about the educational needs of the forced migrant. I am prepared these books in 2 or 22. For me and other people who professionally work with informal education, this book is really important. But if I will send it to the youth, like example, who come on my webinar to get some ideas, to inspire some ideas of event, and if I will tell them, you should read these books and understand the needs of the migrants before you will organize your activities, it will not work. Mostly, if I think that my target audience is the youth, and if they try to find some inspire ideas to the event, they will not read 400 pages about needs of forced migrants. No, it will not work. In the same time, if I organize, like example, webinars for trainers, and we speak about working features, even 500 pages will be okay. So when we prepare materials for our participants, we should ask ourselves how they will use it. Did our material address their needs? And try to do materials for them as easy as it possible. Like example, when I organize offline events, I never put on the slide more than 10 sentences. Mostly I speak, discuss with the people some features, and slides stay like a nice picture with just general sentences, and even better when it's 7 tenths, not 10. But when we have online event, and I expect that mostly people sit near their laptops, that they look on the screen, I think that I can put on the slide much more text. Presentations start being more like a lecture material. Why? Because it's much easier to read when you sit near laptops. You can read more, and if after the presentation, organizer will send you this presentation, it means that you can quickly look into the slide, remember them, and use them in your work. It's just example how preparation of materials for one type of event will be changed according to did I plan event for younger team or for expert, for online or for offline event. And actually, even after this, we always should address the question, do we plan to provide informational support? So do I want after this event switch off my camera and forgot for all end of my lunch of this event? Or I plan, like example, share my contacts and tell that, guys, please, if you have some questions, you can call me or send me a message and I will answer them. Do I plan to share with you some extra materials? So informational support for participants issues of this should be decided before event and should be articulated to the people with whom we work, because they should understand about level of expectation each they can create. Like example, I want to tell all of you that After this event, Nazari will share with you this presentation, share with you my working email and Facebook page. And if you have some questions about how to plan your events, please, you're always welcome to send me a message and we will communicate with you on the stage of preparation of your event, if or when you will decide to do this. And it's okay. Or I can not do this like example, and Nazari, in this case, will communicate how he plans. So it's always on the side of person who organize event to think about this before and to proper speak about this with participants. Like example, on the stage of the concept preparation, if we organize all properly, if we speak with the future speakers, if we speak with our editor, and like example, Svetlana tell us that she plan activities and she need like information about her participants, like example, age, country from which they moving, like type of computer from which they connect, or level of their needs, question. We can organize, like example, register a questionnaire, each will include all this question, and plan that registration, like example, will end before 3 days before event. And if Svetlana will have these 3 days to work with this table and change materials according to the needs of participants. And it will help her. Or we can decide that, like example, we not collect any data, we not ask our participants about anything, they just should come and sit. Svetlana will speak, like example, each text each day, she will not change her material for the group. Can it be? Yes, can. Will Svetlana think that it's effective? Maybe no. So as we have better collaboration with our coach and our target community, we will have better result of our event. Svetlana, do you want to add something for this topic? Colleagues, maybe some other want to address their experience on this sphere.
I'm listening to you, and yes, as an educator, we get used to work like this, and it would be perfect if we always had the same. We have such conditions for preparing and running, but when we come out our bubble, trainers bubble, educators bubble, and when we should deal with our partners with those programs that we invited to run, and it's good questions to think, what can we do, how can we reach those who organize educational activities and invite trainers? How should we communicate them? What is necessary to have really effective educational activities? And probably it's good to start cooperation with some organization who wants to do some educational projects, with negotiation of these things, or even not negotiations, but like recommendations. It would be much better for your educational activity. It will be much more, it will have more impact, and resulted in real some competence rises of the participants. When we will start from these things, that we should, based on the needs, we should learn needs, we should consider them in planning educational activities, not to look how to adapt and to adjust in the moment of starting trainings. But in fact, I agree with you that with all that you mentioned now.
We also, Valeriia, have one question in our chat from Yuri. He asks about any kind of recommendation, manuals about how to create safe educational space.
Thank you, Nazari, for this. Yes, actually, creation of the safe education space is really important. And from one side, when you plan some educational activities, you always should create a risk matrix and think about some risks for participants. And one of the issues which support you to create safe educational space, it's communication with participants before event and creation for them some safety rules. Like example, when we provide some activities for representative of LGBT groups, and we expect that there can be risks of attack from haters group, we ask our participants not share in the social media information about their plan to participate our event. We share information that address of the physical address of the place where they should come, they will get personally in the letter in the day of event. Actually, participants was from the city where event happening, so it was okay to allow this. And they will inform that they not allowed to show photo and make photo from the window of the place where we provide this event, to not give possibility to the people got information about physical address of the place through meta information from the photo. It's one type of like example protection measure each we organize. In other situation, like the example when we organize educational event for the children in Zaporizhzhia, according to Russia Federation aggression, event was organized directly underground, and we check to have a generator for situations that if alert will happening, we should not interrupt event and go underground. Actually, we're already there, and we have generator for situation if electricity will switch off, we will have possibility to use generator to back heaters and lights. So it's very different type of risks. It's very different type of safety measure, but our responsibility, like organizers, think about all type of risks and think how we can prevent it. I want to highlight that in most of European countries and in Ukraine too, organizers of event always responsible for any risks it's happening with participant. Many organizers try to send with participants special disclaimer with the wording that participant understand risks and not put responsibility on organizer. You can do this, you can sign this piece of paper, but this piece of paper not change legal side of their work. On Ukraine and on many European countries, you will be responsible for all safety measures, and it will not depend on any piece of paper it's signed by the participant, because law have higher level of their obligations than a disclaimer signed by the person. So it's always important to think about the risk. And other side of this, it's gender sensitivity and conflict sensitivity measures. Sometimes we can speak not about physical risks, but about some harm and some problems it can be created by some of our decisions. Like example, when we decide put in one room people who present group, it's traditionally can have conflict between them. We should think previously how we will organize safe space for representative of the group, which rule we can bring for the participants to not allow them to have open conflict, and what we will do if this rule will be broken. Like example, we should think about, do we need dialogue expert or no? Do we need a special meeting with participant and discussion of their safety or no? And actually, I want to bring one experience from 2017. In 2017, my organization planned to have dialogue meeting about future of the Donbass, and we invite Serbian experts for this. Because this event was publicly present, some of veteran ATO representatives decided that this event will have pro-Russia perspective, and they start post on the internet information that they plan, come on the event, and even beat participants, physically attack participants. We discuss the situation with the dialogue expert and share press release on each. We invite veterans of ATO for this event, ask them come and bring their question and participate in the dialogue. We have some extra preparation for this event. Yes, we agree with the police, we agree with the medicine service for some extra risks. And we invite one more dialogue and moderator specialist for situation if situation will be hot. But actually we face this situation when people who come have possibility and have floor to speak. And after that, there was no any conflict. So in case if you think that some situation can bring special risks, you should think and plan what you will do if the situation happen. You should think how you will address risks and issues which happen in the process. And after this, you can work with this. Unfortunately, there are no any special book. Each will give you some like clear advice for everything. Unfortunately, risk matrix, it's always about some your own study and assess for you and your team, but I will share with Nazari link for some materials and will ask him share it with participants. Maybe you will be interesting for some of them. Nazari, sorry, do we have some other question in the chat? And actually, do we have some time?
Actually, I think no, and it's time to finish our meeting in a few minutes, so I just have final words, I guess.
Thank you. So I switch floor for you, and dear colleagues, I will ask Nazari share with you my contacts, and you always can send me direct message if you will have some question about topic which we discuss. Thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you very much, dear Valeriia, for your amazing presentation and the answers. Yeah, we see reactions of our participation here also in our chat and emotions. Thank you so much. Yes, just a second. I would like to share my presentation as well. I actually would like just to say a few words in the end, and first it's that I would like to remind you that this event is a part of the series of online meetings dedicated to needs, special educational needs of discriminated groups, and you can see now our topics. So some of them are already done, and you can find them video with them on our YouTube channel, Democratic Initiative Incubator, and I also for sure will send you these links. And some of them still waiting for you and for your participation. So please just register and participate. Actually, I also would like to say that an evaluation form, just a second, an evaluation form I just sent you to our chat, so I ask you to fill it out, please, and this will help us a lot to evaluate this meeting and also prepare next month better. So, it takes just a few minutes, maybe about 5 questions, but it will help us a lot. I also would like to remind you that the online meeting is conducted by the Democratic Initiative Incubator within the framework of the project Encouraging Diversity, which is implemented by the working group of ENC Network, Citizenship Education and Work with Discriminated Groups, supported by the Agency for Civil Education, using funds appropriated by the Federal Foreign Office, Germany. Thanks a lot for all our partners for their support, and also I would like to say thank you, dear participants, that you find like almost 2 hours a day on weekend to spend with us. And thank you so much, dear Valeriia, for your presentation. So see you on our next online meetings. Bye.